All right, good afternoon, everyone. Or maybe, well, it's not evening yet. Welcome to the October 24th meeting of the City of Davenport Zoning Board of Adjustment. The Zoning Board of Adjustment holds public hearings to consider the strict applications of the zoning ordinance for hardship variances, special uses, and appeals. I'm Dan Darlin, Chairman of the Davenport Zoning Board of Adjustment. Members present today are from your left to right, Bridget Boyd Carlson, myself, and John Cleffman. In the ceiling is Mike Galliart, so he's joining us online. Staff present today are Laura Berkeley and Scott Copes. If you have a mobile device, we ask that you turn them off so it doesn't interfere with our electronics. As we conduct our business, we expect that everyone here will conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous, and civil manner and will speak only after being recognized by the chair. The only exception to that standard is that staff is expected to interject when necessary to ensure we are properly conducting our business. If anyone wishes to speak on a particular agenda item, you will be provided an opportunity to do so. When recognized by me, please step to the podium, introduce yourself, and provide your input. By practice, each person is only permitted one opportunity to speak. Exceptions to that practice is at my discretion. Of course, if a board member asks a question of anyone, they will be permitted to speak to answer that question, but I ask that you keep your response limited to that specific question. And just to add to that, the speaker for the presenter at the podium is right above in the ceiling, so that's why I ask you to step to the podium and then stay there. People tend to like to wander off and point to the maps or whatever, so try and stay there, or this is all recorded and we won't pick you up, and Mike won't be able to hear you. So first order of business is to consider the Secretary's report from August 22nd. So are there any corrections to the minutes? If not, I'll take a motion to approve.
Motion to approve August 22nd minutes.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Mike, are you just delayed, or did you, okay, I assume you're opposed, or you were just delayed. Okay. All right, try and keep up. All right. First order of business is request for hardship variance 24-11 of Caleb Rogers, Streamline Architects, on behalf of Jennifer Milam at 5211 Ricker Hill Road for hardship variance two items. One, exceed the total area allowed for accessory structure by 224 square feet, and locate an accessory structure in a front yard. The Davenport Municipal Code limits the area of accessory structures to 50% of the livable area of the dwelling. In this case, that'd be 720 square feet, and restricts accessory structures to the side or rear yards. This property is in Ward 1. Is the petitioner present? Yes. No, you can stay there. I just want to make sure here before we continue. May I have the staff report, please?
Scott Copes, this of DNS. This property, as you stated, is two items. The area of an existing shed. They're going to keep an existing shed that is exactly 224 square feet. And the new shed, new accessory storage building is 720. So that means the excess area is exactly equal to the existing shed that they have there. And then, of course, the other part of the hardship variance is that the accessory storage building will be in what's considered the front yard, because West River Drive is the only public right-of-way that they abut. And that's on this next slide here. It turned off on me. Let's see. So this shows the public right-of-way. Way at the bottom of this image is the West River Drive. Then there's a sloped hill, which is public right-of-way, and then what is, by zoning definition, their front yard, but which in practicality is kind of their rear yard. They access the property from Ricker Hill Road, but it's not an actual flag lot, it's over a private access easement. And these are the diagrams that were in the staff report. On the right, you see where it's considered side and rear yard, and anything between the house and River Drive is considered the front yard. On the left side here, it just kind of shows you that, if you could see that this whole portion of the flag lot actually isn't part of that lot, it's a separate parcel. And this is the applications, or the applicant's submittal. It shows the site plan submittal, and it shows where the detached accessory building will be south of the dwelling and in what's considered the front yard. And it also shows where that 224 square foot shed is located. And so those will be the only accessory storage buildings on the property, but in total, they'll be exceeding the area by 224 square feet. We did send out notices to all the abutting property owners within 200 feet, and we had 2 comments back. And those are been emailed out, but you might have forgotten these because they got emailed out in the previous cycle. So they were both in favor, and this little star here shows where that is on the notice map. So if you have any questions about those notices, let me know. So our staff's approval standards, for a hardship variance, there are 4 approval standards, and staff reviews the application's submittal against all 4 of those. Item number 1, the case for ordinance-created hardship, has it been demonstrated? The only location for an accessory structure of the proposed size is to the south of the dwelling in what most consider the rear yard. However, as defined by the ordinance, said yard is the front yard, which does not allow for accessory structures per our code. Yards adjacent to the proposed structure are the rear and side yards of adjacent properties. So basically, this would be similar to having an accessory structure in a rear yard because it's abutting other side yards and rear yards. This lot is 300 feet from West River Drive. Impact adjacent properties will be minimal, if any, due to the distance from adjacent structures and due to the type of yards that they're abutting, side and rear. Given the size of the lot and the location of the structure, the additional 224 square feet will not have an impact on adjacent property owners. Standard number 1 has been met. The second standard is physical and topographical conditions of the site limiting development. Staff ruled in favor of this. The physical condition of the site does limit impact to adjacent properties, and the visibility of proposed garage is not going to be an impact given the location. The lot is such that the nearest dwelling is over 140 feet from the proposed structure, and the location of the structure abuts side and rear yards. Criteria number 3, is there demonstrable evidence existing establishing unique circumstance? In this situation, the lot is basically like a through lot. It has almost frontage on Ricker Hill and it does have frontage on West River Drive. Just as a heads up, we are sending a code through to fix that situation on a true through lot, and that's going through council at this time. But we'd still be here even if that code was proposed because this is not a true through lot. It doesn't have the flag portion or the pole portion on Ricker Hill Road. So due to this unique situation, staff rules in favor of evidence for unique circumstance for number 3. Item number 4, protection of essential character has been established. Due to the nature of this area with what functionally is a rear and side yards adjacent to the property, the essential character will not negatively be impacted. Standard number 4 has been met. So staff's findings of those approval standards. Number 1, the nature of the lot has created a certain type of hardship. Number 2, physical and topographical conditions on the site do limit development of the lot. Item number 3, unique circumstance has been established. And item number 4, protection of essential character has been established. And then finally, our recommendation. Staff recommends the board adopt staff's findings and approve request HV 2411 as the approval standards have been met. And any questions by the board for staff?
Questions? One that's maybe more of a curiosity. Why isn't the property addressed off of West River Drive?
It's a great question.
Thank you.
So this is an area that was annexed into the city, already developed. So we accepted what was there. As Scott has mentioned, all of the houses in that area access off of River Drive in large part due to the topography issues related to.
Ricker Hill Road.
Ricker Hill Road, sorry. Due to the topography issues related to West River Drive, as well as the speed limits associated with West River Drive, and also needing review and approval from the Iowa DOT to have access to West River Drive in this area. So that's why it's addressed off of that. And it's been that way for a long time, and it's accepted by the United States Postal Service as that mailing address.
It probably also relates to the fact that they don't actually have a true flag lot touching both streets. You know, they shouldn't have been, well, I mean, technically they have access or about right away, but they don't have a way to go get to the property without going over a private access easement over private property.
Okay. I can just think of other examples that I'm aware of that are exactly the opposite. So just curious, it doesn't really affect the ruling. Okay, so applicant or representative thereof, you can go ahead and step up to the podium and introduce yourself and present the petition.
Caleb Rogers, Streamline Architects, representing the owners in the audience right now. I'm here to support the decision that the staff is making and address any questions that the group might have.
Okay, so nothing additional to add to the staff report. Questions of board members for the applicants? No. Mike, you good?
I'm good, thanks, Dan.
All right, perfect. All right, thank you then. Does anyone in the audience wish to speak in favor of the request? Seeing none. Anyone in the audience wish to speak opposed to the request? Seeing none. Okay, so this is time for our discussion. Comments?
And just a reminder that Mike won't be able to hear you unless you use your microphone.
Should it have been considered to take or demolish the smaller shed that's there now? Or because now they're going to have more?
Sure. I'm going to take it back a step and explain definitions here a little bit.
Okay,
So we have three types of general accessory structures in our zoning code. The first is a shed, which this is being called a shed, but by zoning code definition, a shed, it has to be under 120 square feet. So in reality, if that was a shed, their request would be only to go over by 124 instead. So that's the first type. The second type, which is what's being proposed, is an accessory storage building. That is a a detached structure that's over 120 square feet, that has an opening of less than 6 feet wide, meaning you can't drive a car in it. Okay. And then we have garages, and garages are anything that would fit a car in it, but it has to have a garage door over 6 feet, and it would be required to have a driveway, a paved driveway to that garage door. So actually, a little bit of background on this. The original intent is there had been some other storage type buildings on the property that were in poor state of repair, and they're consolidating that together. That's why they're requesting this building to actually help improve their property and their neighbors' property as well. This had originally come in as a garage, and we said they had to have the driveway. Unfortunately, there's not a way to get a driveway to that part of their yard. So they made the opening narrower, the door opening narrower. That then led, so they would have been allowed to have this as a garage by right with no hardship at this size, if they could get the driveway there. But then that led to this problem related to the size, going over their size limit for this specifically. So generally, our accessory structure code says you can have multiple types of accessory structures, you just can't go over the total living area. So they would have been okay otherwise. It's just specifically the problem in this case is that technically they already have an existing accessory storage building. Also, we do not feel that they have room to put any other type of building on this property. So that was the consideration in our review.
Thank you.
So I guess to maybe address Bridget's question more, if they built the new one and demolished the old one, then they would be within standard regardless, right? They wouldn't need a hardship.
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
For area,
right.
but
the
not
square
for
footage.
setback, yeah.
Right, okay. So that would be the option if we didn't approve. Any other questions, comments? Yeah, I mean, I think it's a valid request, as is. Mike, do you have any comments?
The only comment I have, Chairman, is I agree with staff's findings.
All right. With that, I would entertain a motion to approve request HB 24-11.
Motion to approve request HV 24-11.
Roll call vote, please.
We need a second first.
Oh, how about a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call.
Galliard,
Yeah.
Boyd Carlton,
Yes.
Clefman,
Yes.
and Darland.
Yes. All right, so you're approved?
Thank you.
All right. And one thing I wanted to say at the beginning, and I neglected to, for those who were meant to be heard 2 weeks ago, I'd like to apologize for, we didn't have a quorum to hear any petitions then. Our board is made up of 5 members. Currently, we only have 4, and there has to be 3 present to hear any of the petitions. So with that, we didn't have 3 present, and you had to have 3, whether there's 3, 4, 5, you had to have 3 to pass. So the sales pitches, right now, we only have 4 people. So if anyone, residents of Davenport, whether you're business owners here or residents petitioning the board, if you find this interesting, or any of the tens of thousands listening online, or who may watch the recordings later, if there's interest in joining, we are certainly looking for a 5th person to help alleviate those issues. So again, my apologies, and feel free to join the fun. All right. So with that, we'll move on to the second item under new business, and that's request HV 24-12 of Reed Rossberger on behalf of Seafried Properties at 9,000 North Division Street for hardship variance for 5 directional signs to exceed height and area limitations with signs 8 feet in height and 20 square feet in area, and a second freestanding sign. Section 17 dash .12, limit directional signs to 5 feet in height, 2 feet in length, and 2 feet in width, and 4 square feet in area, and total of 3 signs. The lot also only allows 1 freestanding sign, and this property exists in Ward 8. I'm definitely going to take the staff report to understand what I just read. Is it 5 directional signs or signs of 5 feet?
It's 5 signs.
5 signs.
But it also, 5 foot tall is what they're normally allowed.
Okay.
They're proposing an 8 foot tall directional sign for all 5.
Okay. All right, so let's have the staff report and,
Yep, Scott Copes, DNS. I just kind of got approval to mention who the property owner is today because it was going by Wildcat, Project Wildcat. But if you were on the board, is it 2 years ago, I believe, we approved hardship variances for 2 what we call freestanding signs that identify the business for Amazon's main building. And at that time, we also did approval for some, I think it was 3 directional signs at that time. Those are the same height as the ones that are being requested now. The area of those signs might be a little bit less. But, so this property already has a freestanding sign, so that's why the freestanding sign for this new building is gonna need a hardship variance, because our code only allows you to have a set amount of freestanding signs, and so they would have to have another one by variance. I can get to the site plan. So this building is north and a little bit east of the existing building. 900 North Division is the actual address, kind of opposite of the soccer complex, if you know where that is. And this is what the signs look like as they were shown in the staff report. So this is what they call the address sign. We call it the monument, freestanding monument sign. Well, it's not supposed to be monument in industrial districts, so strike that word monument. It's just a freestanding sign. It's kind of a business identification sign is what our old code called it. So that's to identify the building. And the directional signs, as I said, they would be 8 foot tall. They would have directions for the various types of traffic going out to the site. And as you can see, they have a number of different categories of vehicles and people visiting the site. And so most of that 8 foot tall is taken up with the various different types of traffic they'll have out at the site. This is the site plan almost in full. They didn't show us quite all the parking to the west, but Division is on the east here. There's 3 different access drives, and then there's parking, and then the building over here. This is just kind of zoomed into the front part of the site plan so you can see it a little bit better. The letter A is their address sign or their freestanding sign, kind of in the middle, but south of their primary driveway. And then numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are the directional signs. And as you'll remember, if you were here for the previous approval, these signs are a very similar appearance to the previous signs approved. And there was an example of that in the staff report. And there are a couple of concerns that these signs alleviate. And I can read those to you. So trucks must access the correct Amazon driveway, thus needing for the directional signage. Inadequate signage would lead trucks to enter the property the wrong entry, causing them to have to leave the site and/or potentially navigate existing parked cars and tight aisles. Trucks turning onto the wrong access drive would have to turn around in most cases. And because of the aforementioned concerns, it's vital to have a clear signage on Research Parkway and Division Street, both directing vehicles to the appropriate locations. We did notify all the property owners adjacent to this. We didn't have any, within 200 feet, we notified property owners. We had one phone call They just were curious about what was being proposed. And so I walked the caller through that issue. Our findings is that the application of the ordinance creating hardship has been established, and that number 2, the physical surroundings imposing hardship have been established. Item 3, unique circumstance has been established, and item 4, protection of essential character has been established. Our recommendation is that the board would adopt staff's findings and approve HV 2412 as the approval standards have been met.
All right, thank you. Any questions from board to staff members? Okay. So this is additional Amazon property, building.
So it's a different function of the property. They do not connect with each other, and they would only have access directly off of Division Street.
Okay. Interesting. All right, so if the applicant or representative of the applicant, can go ahead and step forward.
Good afternoon. I'm Richard Davidson from Lane and Waterman. I'm representing Seafried Properties, the developer of this project. You'll recall 2 years ago, Seafried developed the Amazon distribution center that is located on the same site. And today, Seafried is going to develop another building. This will be for local deliveries for the vans that will deliver the packages to local people living in the Quad City area. It will be located immediately behind the existing 2 million square foot building. Be much smaller. The purpose of this is the packages will come in bulk in large trucks. They will be transloaded inside the building to the delivery vans, very similar to the way the UPS operation is on the other side of the interstate. And then the local delivery vans will go back down Division Street and deliver the packages to the residents in the Quad City area. So the signage is very important because there are 2 different facilities on this property, and they serve different functions. People delivering and departing with delivering the materials to the distribution center that are packed into the packages have to go to the big building, and the trucks that are delivering the packages that need to be redistributed by van, by the smaller trucks in the transload facility, have to get in the right driveway. And so the signage is very important to the drivers, that they know which driveway to turn into. The actual, if I can show you on the map here,
Now we're walking away.
this facility will kind of have a one-way flow around, so that the vans and trucks will come in on the south entrance, will then move through the property or the building moving to the north, and then they'll exit on the driveway to the north. So there'll be one-way driveways that are going in and out, so the truck drivers and the van drivers will know precisely where they need to go, and so that the large trucks delivering the packages will not end up in the wrong driveway and have to back up or something of that nature. So anyway, very similar to the UPS operation across the highway, not quite as large as the UPS operation. Interestingly enough, the packages aren't all going to come from the distribution center. Amazon, the distribution center may or may not be the source of the packages that are going to the transload facility. Some may come in from other Amazon warehouses. Some will undoubtedly come from this existing Amazon warehouse. But regardless, they'll come in, they'll be loaded in large semi-trucks that will then arrive at the transload facility. They'll be unloaded and loaded into the vans during the evening, and then the drivers will come and take their vans in the morning and go out and drive their routes and make their deliveries. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Sure. Questions? Mike?
This may be a question for staff as well, but with this signage, do we believe that this is going to, I guess, satisfy any traffic issues and not have to come back and maybe get another sign somewhere?
I mean, that is our hope. This is not Amazon's first rodeo, so they very much care about their signage, and I think it's very clear signage in terms of it's the best you can do, and that's why they want the larger size so that it's legible from further distance, so people know where they're going. So that's generally our hope. If for some reason something was necessary, we can always revisit that later.
And the applicant could probably
Sure.
answer this. It doesn't appear that there's enough room for a third different type of facility on here, but
Yeah, I don't believe they're planning on additional facilities at this site. They've described this to me as the last mile, which is a function that Amazon does not perform in the Quad City area directly. They do have some delivery vans that currently come from Iowa City, but for the most part, they use third-party delivery at this time, and they are going to take a substantial portion of that in-house and utilize their own delivery vans in the Quad City area because they believe they can do it more efficiently and have the packages arrive at the earliest possible time. Yeah,
John, did you have something?
Yeah, my only concern was, I guess, direction of the sign and the direction it's facing. Have we considered any possible visual obstructions to traffic from created by the signage? In other words, creating an obstacle for vision for people turning.
I think they're gonna be set back.
Yes.
The plan I have seen, they're set back a substantial different distance from the right-of-way, so there shouldn't be any visual interference with traffic moving up and down Division Street with the signage in question.
yeah, that's a valid point. Our sign ordinance allows a sign to be only 5 feet from the property line, but these are going to be 25 feet back.
Yep, and then just a general comment for the board, that really the sign code in terms of limitations on signage is more related to overstimulation and sign clutter. In a situation like this, where you have soccer fields that don't have really much in the way of signage, and then you have large-scale industrial development on the west side, we're not getting that sign clutter that you would typically see in a more commercial retail setting.
Yeah, and this is a very, very large property, of course, we decided not to create a new lot for this particular building, which would have permitted additional signage. The entire site, the whole, I don't know what it is, 50 acres, is one lot. And so, that is a little bit of this. We're not creating a separate outlot that we could have done, which would likely then not have triggered the necessity of obtaining variance. But as you know, this is a very, very large property with a lot of open area. It's, as Laura said, this isn't Amazon's first rodeo. Their hope is to have the traffic move very efficiently into the correct driveway so that the loads can be expedited in and out of the facility.
All right. I don't have any questions. All right, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the request? Anyone in the audience who wishes to speak opposed to the request? Okay, hearing none. We can go on to board discussion. So yeah, my thoughts are that these aren't advertisement signs, that are out there trying to draw people to them. The trucks are coming, they're looking for the property, so they're set back further, which then they need to be a little bit larger to be seen, but it also keeps them away from the street, away from obscuring visibility. So it all makes sense to me. Yeah. All right. No other comments? If there are no other discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve a request HB 24-12.
I'll make a motion to,
I'll make a,
I make the motion to approve HV
I'll-
24-12.
All right, Mike, we have a motion from John.
yeah, I'll second.
Okay. So motioned and seconded, so I'll take a roll call vote, please.
Cleffman,
Yes?
Galliard,
Yes.
Boyd Carlton,
Yes.
and Darlin.
Yes. Thank you, so that's approved. My wife thanks you. Probably a van with our address on it, I don't know. Okay. Probably. She'll be thrilled to know she's in the minutes. Okay, so we'll on to the third agenda item. This is request special use 24-05 of Marcus McQueen on behalf of All In Auto for an enclosed vehicle dealership at 4726 Brady Street. Table 17.08-1 requires a special use permit for an enclosed vehicle dealership on property zoned C-OP Commercial Office Park District. And this property is in Ward 7. Is the applicant here? Excellent. All right, staff report, please.
Scott Copes, Development and Neighborhood Services. In 2019, our zoning code, as you know, was overhauled and rewritten, and a part of that, we separated out how we dealt with enclosed dealerships versus outdoor dealerships. There are certain districts in which you can have enclosed dealership, and this property is zoned COP, office, commercial office park, and it does, if you see the little table at the bottom there, there's a little yellow box with S in it, so it does require special use, and that's why we're here today, just to make sure that it's reviewed by this board. The property has 5 different businesses in it, and there's about 5,000 square feet where this business will be located. That's indicated by the white star on this site. The applicant has submitted a kind of an internal layout, and so their business is kind of, Brady Street is on the top here, north is to the left. And the first business is Hertz, and then next to them is Lynch, but right below Hertz, close to the front of the building, but not exactly in the front, is where the proposed business is going to be located. And we've requested a diagram and site plan showing where the parking is going to be. They're required by code to have 14 off-street parking spaces outside, and they exceed that. I think it's 20 is what they're proposing or what they have access to. So those areas are along the north property line there. There's 2 different areas, and then there's an overflow area on the south, kind of west corner there. With only having 5,000 square feet, I don't know that they'd have a lot of customers at any one time, but I suppose they could have an event. But in case they did have an event, they would be able to meet this requirement. The property owners within 200 feet were notified, and we did not receive any comments back. So findings for the three criteria for special use. The establishment, maintenance, and operation of the proposed special use will not endanger the public health, safety, or welfare if operated per normal business practices. The proposed special use is compatible with the general land use of adjacent properties. As you know, there is a outdoor car dealership at the corner of 46 and Brady, if it's still there, I believe it is.
Yes.
And number three, the special use in the specific location proposed is consistent with the spirit and intent of the ordinance. So the main thing is that, and there'll be a condition, I'll read in a second here, is the main thing is that they have to stay in, the cars for sale have to stay inside. So staff recommends the board adopt staff's findings and approve the request SU 2405, subject to the following conditions. And I'm going to be adding one that I thought of here today that isn't there. So number one, the applicant shall have at least 14 paved off-street parking spaces for the use of customers and employees, and such spaces shall be used for such. Number two, all vehicles for sale must be stored inside the leased building area, and there shall be no displays for parking of vehicles outside the building. And third, the applicant shall obtain within 90 days and maintain the City of Davenport dealership license. They will also, are in the process of getting their state one as well, so that's also required. And the fourth condition that I would like to add is that should the ownership of this business change, that the board have a chance to re-review this use at that time.
Yeah, great. We've done that on others, so I appreciate that. Okay. Questions from board members to staff? What's the larger business in that property?
I believe the largest one is Roll and Roll.
Okay.
That's where all the individual cubicles are. I believe.
Okay.
Or is it
Realty One Group.
Realty?
Sorry about that.
Okay, yep.
Realty One. Okay. All right.
So that ends staff's presentation.
Right. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Questions? All right. Applicants, can you go ahead and, or who's representing the applicant?
Well, it's both of us. Me and
Both of us. Well, you can both come up. Introduce yourselves and go ahead and present any additional information you'd like to.
You go first.
Yeah, I'm Mike Ingleby. I own Realty One Group, real estate company. I own the building.
Okay.
Partnering with Marcus on this venture.
Yep, I'm Marcus McQueen, again, partner with Mike Ingleby. Excited and appreciate the opportunity. It's just aimed to change the outlook of, car dealerships and come with a more intimate approach where it's unique and the clientele and everybody who comes feel like it's more of a one-on-one, and you get to visit and see a vehicle inside a showcase form. So it kind of, just talks up the vehicle a little bit more and lets them know we care and take care of what we have, and we keep them inside so they are protected. So that's kind of the aim. We just wanted it to be a more intimate approach, but also wanted to make sure that it was upscale and made sure it promoted networking within the whole entire area with the insurance companies and everybody around. It's going to increase business, for everyone involved is our approach.
Okay. So what's, I see the floor plan, there's like 10 spaces, right? For vehicles inside?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Is this, and it's, I think the description is luxury automobiles. So is this new, used?
Oh, they're gonna be used.
So used.
Yep, high-end used.
High-end.
Yeah, so those off-lease, off-loan vehicles, 5 years or less is what we aim for, so we want the newer vehicles, we want the ones that everyone can depend on, and as the future progresses and hopefully we make it through, we have a silent, more or less, partnership with Hertz to where once their rental cars are expired, we'd give first stab and first right of refusal at being able to use those cars for the public as well.
Okay. Is there any service of these cars, or this is just a showroom and sales?
Yep, just showroom and sales with warranty. We don't plan on them. There are machines, but we don't plan on selling anything that's going to require that form of service. And for those, they will be inspected, of course, before they hit and go for sale. And we plan on actually using the auto repair right up the street from us, who has full-on inspections and everything. That was more or less our plan on who was going to service those vehicles for the clients. So they have that, 120, 150 point, I think it is now, inspection before they get them. It will be 200 before we know, but whatever.
Right. Yeah, just want to check on that because, service requires a whole bunch of other permits.
They are required to have one service bay. It is on the site plan. It's highlighted. It's this spot here. So that it can be, functions as their service bay, can be serviced around it.
Okay,
And that's a city requirement that they have at least one service bay for this amount of vehicles.
okay, so then there are then permits required for hazardous waste materials and things like that will accompany that, okay. Any other questions? Mike?
Just one question. Are you guys comfortable with and accepting of what the staff recommendations are?
Oh, yes, sir. So, like the last one, with ownership change and stuff.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks.
So as a property owner, you have all the required parking spaces
Yes,
and all
yeah,
that?
there's a lot of, we have a lot.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the overhead, looks like there's quite a bit.
The realtors just don't come in that much anymore in the office, so,
Okay,
And Hertz has 14, they have 14 spaces. Sometimes they take more and sometimes they have less, I mean, so.
okay.
But we have plenty of space for everybody, so.
Do you know what the total number of parking is that you have? Are you in ballpark?
Probably 60 to 80, 70, 80, probably, so.
Okay.
There's probably a couple spaces in the back that aren't shown on there either.
All right. Staff, is that something you looked at as far as required parking for all the different businesses, or?
So they appear to have the amount of parking required, but it's hard to tell on if people are over parking or under parking. So I think it's fair that the applicant know from staff and maybe potentially the board that they will be held accountable to make sure they have the required 14 spaces and that they will not be able to have cars for sale outside. I think it's important that everybody understands that.
Right. Okay, any questions about that? You're good with all that?
No, they made it
Okay.
pretty clear cut from the outset for sure.
Okay, excellent. Any questions, anybody? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone in the audience that would wish to speak in favor of this request? Anyone in the audience wish to speak opposed to the request? Anyone in the audience that wants to join the board? No, I'm still trying. Okay, then board discussion. Questions, comments, concerns? We're good with the 4 recommendations. Anything additional you can think of? Kick it, yeah.
Sorry.
She turned it on for you. I watched it.
The only issue might be with regards to the parking, was there consideration for identifying the parking spaces specific to this business?
So the exhibit they provide, it's actually the one that's on the screen. I don't have my glasses, so I apologize, but I think there's 10
10,
spaces here, 4 over here,
Yeah.
and another 10 or 8 down there. So that's what they've identified as theirs. So if we have a complaint, we would have our enforcement division go out there and look at it, and they would find out if those spaces are available to their customers and employees, and if there was an issue, then we would sort it out. And then if there's a repeated issue, then it would come back before the board.
So,
Very good, thank
yeah.
you.
So generally, city's zoning code is pretty supportive of shared parking. So at least at this time, I don't think it's necessary to have specific labeling as this business's parking only. But if it does become an issue in the future, we can revisit that.
Okay, so the entrance of this actual business,
Yeah, I don't think I stated it, but there's a garage door over here, or a bay door over here,
okay,
and that's where they would get into their approximately 5,000 square foot area.
okay, and the customers?
You'd have to ask the applicant there if there's a man door right there.
Okay.
There's a
Can you-
man door
can-
right next to the large bay door.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so-
for the board member that's participating virtually, there is an extra door adjacent to the overhead door.
Okay,
So there is a dedicated entrance just for this business.
all right, I was just trying to line that up with the customer parking area, so, okay. I'm good with it. If there's no other discussion, I'll ask for a motion to approve SU 24-05.
Motion to approve.
I'll make. Go ahead.
Motion to approve SU-24-05 with staff's recommendations,
4 conditions.
Yeah, 4 conditions.
with staff's 4 conditions.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Galliard,
Yes.
Boyd Carlton,
Yes.
Clefman,
Yes.
and Darland.
Yes. All right, you're approved. Yep, look forward to visiting. I like looking at cars. See what you got. All right, thank you so much. Good luck with the business. With that, there's no other business or discussion. Okay, motion to adjourn. Anybody?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we find ourselves adjourned. Thank you.